pen barely touched the paper before he started laughing. Finally, Emeka grinned, dragging his signature across the line with dramatic flair. Freedom. Zara didn't flinch. She just stood there, one hand lightly clutching the divorce papers, the other resting calmly at her side. Her expression was unreadable. Too still to be angry, too poised to be sad. She simply nodded, thanked him, and turned to leave. "Wait," Emeka called out casually, his voice full of mock surprise. "No tears? No drama? That's not the Zara I remember." She looked over her shoulder once, briefly. "You don't remember much." Then she walked away. Not fast, not slow, just certain. He didn't know it then, but that was the last time he'd ever see her as the woman he thought he could walk away from without consequences. Because while he signed those papers thinking he was discarding a failed marriage, she was quietly finalizing the launch of something much bigger. 5 years earlier, Zara believed in building together. Emeka had ambition, flashy, loud, half-baked ambition. Zara had ideas too, but hers came in silence, during long nights, and in the tiny moments he never noticed. He said he wanted to run a record label. She said, "Let's start with a plan." But Emeka didn't want structure. He wanted spotlight. When things didn't blow up overnight, he called it bad luck. Zara, on the other hand, studied fintech until 3 a.m. while making jollof rice for his friends. She coded in the dark with a newborn in one hand and debt letters on the table. She stayed up sketching UI designs while Emeka was out trying to network at clubs. She didn't complain. Not once. She listened when he called her a supportive queen in public, and she held herself together when he mocked her little tech hobby in private. But with every insult, something inside her sharpened. She got quieter and smarter. By the time their marriage was crumbling, Zara had already built a platform in stealth mode, under a dummy email with a different name, funded by freelance contracts he never knew about. The startup BlueTrack was designed to give African women control over digital banking, savings, and credit access. A fintech solution born from the very life she lived, where women gave everything and were left with nothing. By the time she handed Emeka those divorce papers, BlueTrack had already completed Series B funding. But she said nothing, because she knew silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. That night, after Emeka left, Zara sat on her floor, barefoot, staring at a glowing email. Final IPO paperwork approved. Official launch in 30 days. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just smiled, a small, calm smile. But her phone buzzed with a message from Emeka. "Let me know if you need help paying your rent. No hard feelings." She stared at the screen, then deleted the message. And right then, she whispered to herself, "I don't need revenge. I just need time." 3 weeks had passed since Emeka signed the divorce papers like a joke. He hadn't thought about Zara much, except to mention her in passing to his new girlfriend, Amara, as the ex who didn't fight back. He liked how that sounded. Made him feel powerful. "Poor thing," Amara said with a fake pout. "She'll bounce back." Emeka had laughed. If she hasn't figured life out by now, she never will. But that morning, Lagos had something else in mind. He was on his way to a brunch meeting with a music promoter, weaving through Lekki traffic, half listening to Burna Boy on the radio, when the traffic light turned red. He rolled to a stop near Admiralty Way and looked up. And froze. It was her. Zara. But not the Zara he remembered. This woman wasn't wearing a head wrap and faded jeans with a baby sling. She stood tall in a power suit, bold Ankara print tailored to perfection. Her arms crossed, chin lifted, eyes locked with the world like she had nothing left to prove. The billboard was massive, dominating the skyline. Introducing BlueTrack, Africa's smartest digital bank for women. Founded by Z.T. Okoye. The name hit him like a slap. Z.T. Okoye. Her maiden name. He sat up straight, blinked hard. The logo was unfamiliar, but the face, undeniable. Her name was clean, corporate. Not Zara, not baby, not wifey, just powerful, elegant, cold. Then a notification buzzed on his phone. Tech Africa Weekly. Blue Track IPO to break regional records this week. Woman-led startup dominates fintech buzz. He clicked the article. Her face again. Same image. His Zara. But different. No smile. No warmth. Just focus. The story said Blue Track was valued at over 1.4 trillion naira on IPO launch day. 1.4 trillion naira. His mouth was dry. That night, Emeka sat in silence on his balcony, glass of whiskey in hand, rereading every word of the article. He scrolled down to the part where it said she had turned down acquisition offers from 3 major international firms. Zara had said nothing. She had built it, all of it, in silence. She had smiled the day he left, walked away, let him go. And the whole time she'd been sitting on a billion-dollar empire? His phone buzzed again. Amara had texted, "Hey babe, just saw a billboard in 6. That's not your ex, right?" Emeka didn't respond. Instead, he looked at the billboard picture again, then muttered, "What else don't I know?" Zara is invited to speak at a global tech summit. But behind the stage curtain, someone she never expected shows up, asking for just 5 minutes of her time. The lights were bright, the applause louder, but Zara's heartbeat? Steady. She stood behind the stage curtain at the Global Women in Tech Summit in Nairobi, adjusting the mic clipped to her blazer. Her speech was next, the final keynote, the one the whole conference had been waiting for. Her assistant whispered, "You're trending. Twitter, Instagram, everywhere." Zara simply nodded. She didn't need the noise. This wasn't about fame. It was about presence, finally being seen. Blue Track had gone public 2 days earlier. The IPO launch shattered expectations. Headlines screamed her name. Investors called nonstop. And in a country where most women's ambitions were laughed off, T. Okoye had become a symbol. But Zara didn't do it for applause. She did it for the woman who used to cry quietly at 2 a.m., wondering if she'd ever feel like more than someone's unpaid cheerleader. A stage manager tapped her gently. 2 minutes. Zara took a breath and turned toward the mirror to give herself one last glance. But then, she heard his voice. "Zara." The hairs on her neck stood. Slowly, she turned around. It was Emeka, standing just beyond the curtain, wearing a tailored suit and a nervous smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He looked older than she remembered. Or maybe she had simply outgrown the version of him she used to know. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was cool, not bitter, just distant. I saw you were speaking. I came for the summit," he said, fidgeting with his watch. "I didn't expect this." She raised an eyebrow. "You didn't expect me to matter?" His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. 5 minutes, he finally said. "Please, that's all I'm asking." Zara looked at the stage manager, then back at him. "I don't owe you anything, Emeka." "I know," he said, "but I need to say something, just once, before you go out there and become untouchable." She stared at him for a long, weighted pause. Then, with a sigh, she stepped aside. "You have 4 minutes." He spoke in rushed fragments, about how he didn't know, how he assumed, how he underestimated her, how he thought she was just getting by after the divorce, how it felt seeing her face on billboards, magazines, investor decks. He admitted he laughed the day he signed those papers. He thought she had nothing. She watched him squirm, not with anger, but with detachment, like watching someone confess to a version of herself that no longer existed. Finally, he asked the question she knew was coming. "Did you build all this to get back at me?" Zara smiled faintly. "No, Emeka. I built it to come back to myself." The stage manager peeked in. "Ms. Okoye, it's time." She turned to leave, but Emeka stopped her with one last question. "Would you ever want to talk again?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled the curtain aside, walked out into the spotlight, and let the roar of applause drown out everything behind her. After her viral speech, a top tech journalist asks for an exclusive sit-down interview, but the first question catches Zara completely off guard, forcing her to confront a past she's tried to leave behind. The interview was set for 9 a.m. Zara arrived 10 minutes early, dressed in a deep green pantsuit stitched with delicate gold embroidery, a quiet nod to where she came from. Her heels clicked softly on the marble floor of the media headquarters as her assistant whispered updates beside her. The livestream audience is already clocking in. Over 200,000 waiting across platforms. CNN Africa reposted the promo. Everyone's watching. Zara nodded. Let them watch. She had learned to carry herself like armor. Straight spine, level voice, calm hands, even when old wounds pulsed beneath the surface. Today's feature was with Toke Adewale, the continent's top tech journalist. Ruthless with her questions. Respected for her mind. Feared for her silence. Zara knew this wasn't fluff. It was legacy. The cameras rolled. The lights warmed her cheeks. And just like that, they were live. Good morning, Ms. Okoye. Toke began with a smile. First off, congratulations on the IPO. $1 billion valuation. The highest in West Africa this year. How does it feel? Zara answered with practiced poise. It feels like confirmation of every night I didn't sleep. Every voice that told me I wasn't enough. Every sacrifice no one saw. Toke nodded. And it's also made you the wealthiest woman in the country. That's not a small thing. Zara simply smiled. I never set out to be wealthy. I set out to solve a problem. The wealth was just proof I solved it well. Applause from the live studio audience. The next few questions flowed easily, her strategy, her brand's values, her future plans. But then, Toke leaned forward, her tone shifting. I have to ask, she said, voice soft but sharp. Your ex-husband, Emeka Nwosu, there's been a lot of chatter online. That he once mocked your ambition. That he left you before BlueTrack launched. That he called you a phase. Zara's breath caught for just a second. Barely noticeable. But Toke saw it. She wasn't prepared to talk about him. Not here. Not now. Zara composed herself and leaned in, eyes calm. He underestimated me. But I'll admit something. For a long time, so did I. A hush fell across the room. She continued, voice steady but loaded. I don't carry bitterness for what happened. What I carry is responsibility. To the younger version of myself who needed permission to dream louder. That's who I built BlueTrack for. Not for revenge. For redemption. Toke smiled, almost respectfully. That's the kind of answer people remember. But as the interview closed, Zara's mind drifted. Not to the question, but to the memory. The night Emeka laughed in her face after she pitched her idea to him. Mocking the name BlueTrack, calling it cute. Telling her it sounded like a mobile sewing app. He'd said it with a mouth full of fried plantain she cooked. Then turned back to his game console like her dreams were a background noise. That night, she cried in the bathroom. Tonight, she was on primetime TV. And yet, somewhere deep down, the sting still lived. After the interview, Zara receives an anonymous package with documents inside. Revealing someone has been watching her, tracking BlueTrack, and might be preparing a legal move that could threaten everything. It arrived with no warning. No name. No sender. Just a crisp black envelope placed neatly on Zara's doorstep the morning after her interview. Her assistant, Mimi, had already gone to the office. Zara had stayed home to rest. She was just finishing her tea when she spotted it. Barely visible against the white marble floor. She picked it up slowly, examining the handwriting on the front. Private. For your eyes only. Her heartbeat quickened. Inside were photocopies. Dozens of them. Emails. Meeting notes. Contracts. Investor slide decks. Her slide decks. All marked up in red pen with timestamps. Someone had been watching her. Closely. Carefully. For months. But what stopped her breath completely was the logo on the final page. NX Bank Group. Confidential. Acquisition Target Review. BlueTrack. Pre-IPO surveillance. Zara sank into her couch, reading line by line. This wasn't some media leak. This was a pre-IPO investigation report done on her without her knowledge. Someone had tried to value BlueTrack before the public ever knew about it. And they weren't just interested. They wanted to own it. Quietly, they had scouted her team, cross-checked her IP filings, tracked her anonymous social handles, and even speculated that the founder is hiding under a reconstructed corporate identity, likely due to personal reasons or legal entanglements with former spouse. Zara blinked. Once. Twice. Legal entanglements. They were digging. And they weren't guessing. They knew things. Her hands trembled for the first time in months. That night, she couldn't sleep. She stared out at the city skyline from her penthouse window. She thought she had outrun the past. She thought silence had protected her. But somewhere, someone had been watching, waiting for her to rise high enough to strike. The next morning, she called Mimi in early. I need the legal team. And Nene from cybersecurity. Right now. Mimi froze. Did something happen? Zara handed her the documents. They think I'm just a story to exploit. We're going to remind them I'm the one who wrote it. Hours later, the company's lead attorney confirmed the worst. Yes, it's real, he said. It looks like NX tried to quietly file for early patent interference rights. It was denied, but if they try again with new counsel, they might come after you for prior art violations. It's a loophole. Zara's face didn't move. Then close the loophole. He hesitated. If they dig deeper into your personal history, especially your early ownership filings, Emeka's name might come up. Zara looked out the window. She had buried her past under a new identity, but it was never really gone. Now, the one man she thought she'd erased might be the crack in her empire. Zara takes control of the narrative by doing the unthinkable, inviting Emeka to a live press conference. What he says on stage will either clear her name or collapse her entire legacy. The press invitation was sent in silence. No teaser, no topic, just the time, location, and one chilling line. Blue Track's founder will speak live. One time only. Speculation erupted across social media. Was she stepping down? Was Blue Track under investigation? Was the IPO going to collapse? And then someone leaked the seating chart. Emeka Nwosu's name was listed in the front row. It was 11:59 a.m. The rooftop stage was set high above the marina skyline. Cameras zoomed in from every angle. Investors, journalists, tech influencers, everyone was watching. Zara stepped out in all white. No jewelry, no makeup beyond lip balm. Just herself. She approached the mic, her presence commanding the kind of silence usually reserved for royalty or revolution. Good afternoon, she began. I founded Blue Track in my son's nursery, with 14,000 naira in savings, 2 cracked laptops, and a dream that no one took seriously. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I hid my ambition. I worked in silence. Not because I was afraid, but because I had to build somewhere no one would look. And now, they are looking. She held up the black envelope. Yesterday, I received documents proving a financial group tried to file a false claim on my patents, using confidential materials, some of which could only have come from someone who knew me before Blue Track. She paused. Before I became Z.T. Okoye. Gasps. Then, without flinching, she turned and gestured to the audience. Mr. Emeka Nwosu, she said, would you please join me on stage? The room held its breath. Emeka stood slowly. All cameras turned to him. The man who once laughed while signing her divorce papers now looked like a deer caught in the world's brightest spotlight. He stepped onto the stage beside her. Zara didn't blink. Did you contribute to Blue Track's founding in any way? Financially? Intellectually? Or structurally? He hesitated. Microphones caught the moment. Sweat beaded at his temple. No, he said, voice barely above a whisper. She raised an eyebrow. Please speak clearly. He cleared his throat. No, I didn't. I laughed when she mentioned it. I thought it was just a phase. I wasn't supportive. I didn't believe in it, or her. And I was wrong. Silence. Zara turned back to the audience. I am saying this publicly, with the man who knew me before the world did, because I no longer owe the past my silence. She looked at him one last time. I don't hate you. I just outgrew the version of myself that needed your approval. Applause erupted, first in pockets, then in waves. By nightfall, the moment had gone viral. #ZaraOkoye trended across 3 continents. Investors recommitted. NX Bank denied involvement and quietly withdrew all patent motions. Emeka? He disappeared from the public eye. And Zara? She sat alone in her office that evening, watching the city lights shimmer like coated stars. Mimi knocked gently, holding her phone. Madam, Forbes wants to name you Africa's Entrepreneur of the Year. Zara smiled faintly. Tell them I accept, but make sure they spell my name right. Zara. No, she said. Z-T Okoye. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. We hope to see you in our next video.